Alright, so I wanted to, my stepdad came down and I feel like, he doesn't necessarily agree with my political feelings, so I don't want to disturb him, but look at all my daughter's, stickers. So, what I was mentioning is that, like, I don't believe, like before, you know what I mean? Like, I've never had an abortion. And that's not a part of my testimony, you know what I mean? And I feel like the Lord calls us to, this light is kind of a little bit, there we go. He calls for like a testimony of deliverance, from evil, you know what I mean? And that's not a part of my story, you know what I mean? I have had 2 children outside of marriage, and that caused me great suffering because, you know, I never wanted to have kids outside of marriage, and, you know, it did a lot of spiritual, you know, hurt, you know, to experience that, especially with my daughter, because her father is, he's sick, you know, and, it's really difficult to try to reason with him, all right? And, it causes me pain and me frustration and a lot of other, issues, trying to navigate that type of hurt. But I allowed him to hurt me in a way that God never, ever wanted me to hurt. It took years a lot of very painful years to figure out, like, how somebody could do that, you know? And that's not the point of this issue, but, like, what I'm saying is that, you know, God eventually delivered me from that pain, from that hardship, you know, and all we have to do is create a relationship with him. And how do you create a relationship with anybody? You talk to them, you talk about the things that you need to talk to him about, you know, the things that are bothering you, the things that are making you happy, you know, and you listen, you know. Like, we don't want to just be talking all the time, like, thank you, like, you know, because we want to listen to his guidance and listen to and hear his wonderful voice, you know. And that's how we know that he's there, you know, and he doesn't want us to be troubled. And as you begin to do this, it feels a little like you're knocking on a door that doesn't seem open, but when you realize, wow, it's been open this whole time and he's been here the whole time, it's a wonderful feeling, you know. And I hope and pray and wish that more people would come to him and, you know, surrender their own life in exchange for his glory, and his will, because our world would be a way better place with less pain, you know. He doesn't want his children, we are God's children, he doesn't want us to be in pain. And yeah, so the issue with like abortion, like I don't have to support people that choose to do that. You know, that's up to me and my own life. Some people, they feel like just being around that, you start to question other things, like, oh, well, if they would do that, what else would they do? You know, I'm not, maybe I'm still working on being like redeemed from, you know, some other forms of birth control, like Plan B and maybe everyday birth control, like because I feel like that is kind of important, and I don't necessarily agree with, I mean, obviously abstinence is probably the way to go, you know, versus having unprotected sex where there is a possibility that you could get pregnant, because, you know, we create spiritual beings here, and there's different levels of spirit. If you have a very Jezebel spirit within yourself, and you're doing very Jezebel, you know, sort of tactics, and very low level, you know, I don't want to say low level, but like, you know, these kids need the most protection that they can, you know, and spiritually, two spiritual beings that are now one, and it's larger and it's good. I mean, nobody goes into a marriage wanting it to be bad, you know, or you shouldn't be in that marriage. So, you know, that creates a special baby, you know, but not all marriages are good. You know, that's why people shouldn't rush into marriages. Maybe some people think marriage is too much, but I'm learning a lot these days, and I just like sharing about it, you know. So I don't have to feel like I can make a stand and say, hey, I don't feel comfortable with a man in the locker room with my daughter. I don't. I don't think that, you know, legitimately trans people should feel ashamed of themselves. That's also, you know, something that should be worked out with the Lord, you know. But I really do. I think it should be worked out with the Lord. Again, gender is such a foundational element, especially in the when a baby is being created. That's like one of the first things created. in terms of DNA, and establishing themselves, is that they're one gender, you know? And I think a lot of people get some spirituality, confused with biological. Now, spiritually, we can be, masculine, which, to be honest, I know I like some people who are like this, but, masculine, like butch women, not all of them. I think some of them are really cool, but some of them, are like, they make me uncomfortable, you know what I mean? Like when somebody comes, like when an obvious woman, you could tell, hey, that's a woman, but then they have very masculine energy, that makes me be like, you know what I mean? Like, it's confusing, because my body and my spirit want to be like, hey, that's a man, but then my brain is like, that's a woman. You know what I mean? There's that dissonance effect, where it makes me feel very uncomfortable when I, and I never felt strong enough to give these sorts of things like a voice, because, you don't want to hurt another person, you don't want to offend them, but sometimes people need to hear things in a way that makes them change and to hurt their feelings. Somebody hurt my feelings a couple months ago, and I knew I didn't deserve it, which is why it hurt so bad, because I guess I didn't see it, or I'm getting old. I guess I didn't see it, but like when you are on the left and you don't want to offend anybody, when you don't want to offend anybody, you're not defending anything, you're not having any boundaries within yourself, and the more we exercise that muscle of defense, the easier and less scary it gets, like I understand if somebody, wouldn't want to talk to somebody if they had an abortion, because it's like, well, but the people that like promote abortion, like in such a very disrespectful way, that's really sad. That's they probably say that to make you not feel ashamed or afraid to voice that you have had one, but it sends the wrong message, you know what I mean, to the people, I think it's more important to be, nowadays, like, after I've learned, you know, you can't know what you don't know, you know, even though you don't know what you don't know. But once you do know what you do know, you're presented with a choice of whether of what to do next or how to go about things next. But I'm the type that, you know, if you have had those things done, you know, and you did have a Jezebel spirit, and, you know, you did get pregnant outside of a relationship or marriage, or you, and you don't think that the Lord wants you to have a child, he probably does, because that baby has a purpose. And I've always felt like that for a very long time, and now it's kind of coming back to me, and I'm like, I was always like, you never know if that baby's going to be the one that cures cancer. You never know if that baby's going to be the next Mozart. You know what I mean? Like, God gives us great missions here, you know, and it's up to us to listen to him to make them come alive in his will, you know, and that's a beautiful, wonderful thing to be a part of, you know, to create the story that was authored by him, you know. Yeah, we can create great stories ourselves in our wonderful imaginations, but when they're true and they come from a good place and they come from God's love and care and mercy, it's so much better. It's, you can't beat God. You know? So I don't want anybody to think that I'm offended that they got an abortion at any time in their life, you know. I want you to know that God loves you no matter what. He gives us guides for us to follow, and if we don't want to follow them, he'll let you, because we have free will. But if they're not within the spiritual guidelines, like, we suffer for those. We pay for our sins, and God delivers us at a price. And I don't think that it's right that, you know, to promote, you know, extreme views like, well, I'm gonna have 20 abortions. Like, if God really wants you to have a child, okay, at that point, you should probably take it. Take the hint, take the sign from the Lord, you know. But I mean, take the exit. You know, it sends the wrong message to the kids. I think the kids, you know, should be abstinent. I think the kids should be abstinent until I think we should just have a sense of responsibility, you know? And no matter which way you wiggle, you're gonna have to meet your maker at the end of the day. And you could be clean, and you could be, you know, you could be taking up your cross, like, hey, yes, I did do that. No. Or no, I didn't do that, because I know that that's not according to your word. I know that that is not your will for my life. And, or you could be like, I did whatever that I want. And where do you think you're going to, when he called you down here, like, where do you think you're going to go after you didn't take up your cross? You didn't come down here and do what he's instructed you to do, and lived in his purpose. I don't think it's going to be good. So, it's about taking accountability for your own actions. I can't control whether Debbie down the street wants to have fornication with everybody, you know? And there's a lot of different things that play into this, you know? Like, especially when you live in the city, it's so easy to do as the Romans do, as they say, you know? Because you think, oh, that's normal, you know, well, so-and-so's doing it, you know, or the TV, the media is telling me, oh, that's okay, you know. That doesn't necessarily mean that it is okay. If you took it up to the Lord and be like, hey, Lord, I'm down here as a woman. Do you think maybe I could be a man? Do you think maybe I could do all the things that men can do? Yeah, you probably could if you forced it. And you'd probably be, after some time with anything, you'd probably get pretty good at it. Doesn't make it true. God knows. God knows that you're down here. You're supposed to be down here as a woman. And you have a woman's purpose down here. And you're being a man and trying to take somebody else's purpose. I don't think so. Because the Spirit always knows, you know. There's people that are real good at what they do to deceive. The devil, oh, he knows. But he also knows that he's wrong. And what he's doing is not according to the word. So I have a lot to say about this, but I don't think I think there's a lot of stuff that needs to be changed here. There's just too much stuff that has been accepted. We're not going to be anything of substance. If the in the democratic world, there's just no substance. It's all just mush. You can twist anything, any which way. and make it sound real convincing and real good. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's true. And I wouldn't want to be friends with somebody that is okay with having 85 abortions. Because her 85 abortions might cause me one abortion, and one is too many in my world. I don't want to account for that spiritually. And it is up to us to be like, hey, wow. That's a commandment. Do not kill. I shall not kill. You know? And we gotta take up that cross. You know? I believe in preventative measures, though, you know, but again, the spirits convict me every time I say that. I haven't been on birth control since I was 16 years old. But I have taken Plan B a few times, just because I was scared that, you know, I was by happen chance going to get pregnant for whatever reason, and I was, if you don't want somebody's child, you should be acceptable. If you don't, we gotta clean up our world. Clean up the water, you know what I mean? Whew, God. He's good. He's good. He's real good. I don't want to do his job. I'm gonna let him know and do what he knows how to do best, you know? And leave it to that, you know, and accept his good graces and accept his mercy and accept his love, because he's a good father and he doesn't want me to suffer. A good father wouldn't go tell you, hey, Susie, go take care of that. You know, that's sad. And I really hope that there's just options out there for you, you know. A life is precious. Life is good. It's not always easy. It's not always beneficial that we could see up front, you know. Sometimes we take some hits, but then it bounces out with you know, there's always that element. So, nice chatting with you. Bye.